Welcome to the Reloading Podcast, brought to you by Four Patriots. How's everybody doing today?
Good, real good. Real
I'm
good.
all right. I keep walking over you. Sorry, Ray. Go ahead.
No, doing real good. Just fighting a little bit of a summer cold that I think the wife gave me, but other than that, doing really well. Ain't been on in a couple of weeks, but
Yeah.
been busy.
Jim?
Haven't done much except worked on a couple problems. I got back channel on Facebook about reloading issues. I haven't done much of anything. It's just a little too hot for me. I think maybe I'll go shooting this weekend.
That's what I've got planned on this weekend. They're talking temperatures are gonna be a high of 80 on Saturday, so and a low of 60. So I'm going out on Saturday I have about 125 rounds of 223 to test out, and another 100 rounds of 6mm Remington to put through, and I got a lot of shooting I got to do.
Well, I got home, it was 92 degrees.
Well, it was 86 today, and right now it's 81, and you need a knife to walk out the door.
Oh yeah, cut loose that humidity.
Yeah, gotta love that Midwest humidity.
Yep. So Ray, you been reloading or shooting or anything?
Yeah, I'd say about 2 weeks ago, I had some my wife's brother was in town with his kids, and I took them to the range. They'd never really been shooting before, and I went out and shot I mainly just 22s, but we probably went through 500 rounds, and they really enjoyed it.
Nice.
Did that, and people before me there have been shooting 223 and left all their brass, so we picked all that up, and I think the kids got a kick picking up all that brass off the ground. So I brought that home, already got it decapped and cleaned, got it all cleaned, and getting ready to kneel it all.
Good. That's what I like to see.
Don't forget you got to decrimp it.
Yep, decrimp it. Yeah, I do the kneeling, then I work through my steps that way.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with it as long as it all gets done.
Yeah, I spread a little love around. Tom down in Louisville needed some 22 250 brass, so I sent him 100 pieces of it.
There you go.
Good man.
Yeah. So, stuff's hard to come by, so spread it around a little. So, since this is a no adult supervision around tonight, so it's a free-for-all, I want to ask the people that are out listening to us and watching us if they got any questions for three old men.
Tres amigos.
Three wise men.
I'll leave it alone. They'll get in trouble.
No.
Well, all right. The first thing I'd like to bring up is one of the folks of the members of the Reloading Podcast group on Facebook came to me with a question about his bullet casting sprue plate on top of these molds. It's a Lee plate, as I understand it, Lee mold, as I understand it. I drew a little sketch here as to what I'm trying to illustrate, what I'm trying to say to the gentleman. If you look at it, remember I can't see what I'm doing, so Paul, put me on full screen, please. Kick me out of the channel, shitbird. It's all right. Anyway, you see what I'm trying to do is there's a slight flat point on the end of that V right there. That's about how much flat you'd see on a Lee Precision mold. That's the edge of the bullet sprue hole. I see you, Spudman. Anyway, excuse me. Anyway, so what the gentleman wanted to do you wanted to open up that sprue plate to increase pour, to improve bullet pour. So what I'm going to black out now, I'm going to black out all this out. What does that do to the edge of his cutting plate? Creates a flat wall.
Yeah.
And for the audio podcast listeners, all this is just a V with a very sharp point, dulled off, cut off by drilling the hole out with a twist drill bit and increasing the diameter of the pour through hole of the sprue plate. I advise gentlemen not to do it. I'll take myself off full screen. Anyway, I advise the gentleman not to do it, and I hope he doesn't do it. But I just want to bring this material up for the show and for the viewers and listeners out there. And we got one comment that from Spudman76. That looks like my nose. Spudman, if you got a nose that looks like that, I feel for you, Bubba.
It definitely make that harder to cut that sprue plate. That's for sure.
Absolutely. That was why I advise him, because you got to have a little bit of razor edge to bite into that lead, cooling lead. And it would probably wind up springing the plate or wearing out the hinge hole on the plate, on the mold, where the plate swings and so on and so forth. The hinge hole on the plate and the bolt hole of the mold.
Plus, it'll also rise up as you're doing it. It'll lift.
Yeah.
It'll lift up, and you'll have real problems.
We got a good question from the gallery. From somebody called BG Negi. It wasn't me, but say you were to use a countersink afterward to resharpen the cutting edge. Well, the first thing you would do with that would be you would increase the diameter of the sprue hole itself because of the countersink way it works. So I'm talking about is up at the top of the hole on the plate.
Yeah.
It's a thought, but the thing is, too, you're also cutting a good bit more material that's cooling. You know, the Lee Precision, RCBS, and Lyman, all the other people out there, those wonderful, there's one Custom Molds Inc. or NOE or whatever. They all have a pretty good idea as to how much material can be cut. And the holes always seem to me to be about the same diameter, 5/32, maybe 3/16. But you go larger than that, you're going to have to cut more material with that same plate. And what's going to keep that plate from popping up like this? And I can't even see my hands. Popping up on a plate like that. When you actually put that tall sprue underneath that sprue plate.
Why would he want to open it up in the first place? Is he having a hard time filling the bullet? The mold?
I would say so. If that was the case, maybe what he needs to do is wait for his alloy to get a little bit hotter so it'll flow better.
Right. And get his mold hot enough too.
Yeah.
You know, go buy a hot plate and set your mold on the hot plate to get it warmed up. You know,
you've got a very good point. I think those hot plates are about what, $10, $12?
Right. You know, get the mold, hot, get it smoked or whatever you do to it, and then trying to fill the mold up and see if you're having problems.
Right.
That's the thing that I would look at. You don't want to open up the hole to try to get more metal into it, because it goes in and if it's too cold, it's going to harden up anyway, even if it's bigger. So your mold isn't hot enough, your lead isn't hot enough, and get a hot plate, get it on the hot plate, and get that mold warmer.
Yeah, really. And if you open up that hole too much, the base of your bullet's going to be somewhat irregular because when that lead's the right temperature, it backfills up against the bottom of that sprue plate, and all that little hole's doing is cutting that, say, 1/8-inch hole that the lead goes down. If you open that up, that's a lot more you got to cut. Plus, now your base is going to be irregular.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
A tip from our friend down in Australia, Ed. He says the gas torch also works well to heat the mold.
done that.
I have a nice propane torch out there. Self-starting, self-lighting. All you gotta do is change the bottle.
Well, he also asked a question here. And how do you know when your press needs to be replaced?
Oops, I'm sorry, Paul. I hid that question.
Oh,
There it is.
yeah.
How do you know when you're pressing? It depends upon how much wobble you have in the ram and the handles. I've done a lot of reloading on my leak fishing. What the hell is the name of it? Classic 3-hole turret, and I've done a lot of bullets. I've even done bullet swaging on, and I've never broke anything on my press. I've replaced things, but that's because I wanted to do it a little differently. I even went so far as to drill and tap the hole on a hole on the backside of the plate, the backside of the turret plate, to drive the turret forward so it wouldn't move, because I was trying to reduce and eliminate any play. But what I did was I moved it a little bit too far past center, so I had to drill a hole in the front of it to drive the damn turret plate back, to create a double tension to center it back up where it's supposed to be.
Well, I've worn out 2 RCBS rock chuckers in my 40, 50 years of reloading. So,
Yeah, but Paul, you're capable of detecting a tenth of a thousandth.
right. How do I detect it? I take a dial indicator. I put it on, and with a magnetic base, I will set it next to the press.
Mm-hmm.
Start raising the ram up and see how much wobble I get in my ram,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll go around the press, so I get 3 or 4 measurements all the way around to see what's going on. The biggest thing about the RCBS, and I think some other presses have, they build up with carbon from and primer compound from depriming cases, and it ends up into the lubrication that's on the ram, and eventually it starts to wear, and eventually you'll end up and you start getting really bad run out on your bottleneck cartridges. Is where you'll find out about it.
Well, let's face it, Paul. That primer ash you're talking about is nothing more than carbon. What a diamond's made of, the hardest substance in the world, pure carbon.
Right. And what do you do when it's there's a whole lot of sandpaper that's made up the same stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you're just wearing good, even with good press maintenance, 200,000 rounds doing rifle rounds will pretty much do in a press, in my opinion. So, but to check it with a dial indicator, that's the best way I can tell you to do it. And what your your expectations are.
Yep. Paul Laud, you're at it again, you bum. He's talking about Paul's comment about using a dial indicator. Most people don't even know what most realtors don't even know what dial indicator is, Paul. You know that.
Oh yeah, I know. We can sit down and reach up here and put one right up in front of them, and here's a dial indicator.
Well, how does it do? What does it do? Measure size or measure movement?
It measures movement, but you
And
can make
size.
it. You can make it measure size depending upon how you're doing it and how it's being used. But this tells you movement.
Most of the time, yeah.
Yeah.
when you set it up rigid, like you were talking about, you're measuring movement in your press, but at the same time, you could also change rams and you could measure the difference in diameter.
Yeah.
Paul, we got a question for you.
On a cheaper press? What? Oh, come
Should you
on.
deprime, not resize, should you deprime on a cheaper press? That's a thought.
Yeah, you know, if you really want to put another press up, you can do it. I mean, you know, why not? Buy yourself Lee, what are the cast iron ones that they have that's out there? Just
The
to
APP
run.
press?
Yeah, you know, there you go. That APP would be great for just depriming. Um, I just, you know, that's all stuff that's new in the last 7 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, I when I started reloading, we had one press to buy, and that was the rock chucker.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, that's what we started with, and that's what we stayed with. You know, and yeah, I had a couple of juniors, you know, as cheaper presses to do other things with, and um, but yeah, RCBS, but there's so many others now. You know, you have you know, Reading makes a couple,
Mm-hmm.
RCBS makes four of them or so. We have, you know, Hornady makes three, Lyman makes three or four. You got a lot
Mech
of
makes one.
choices. Yeah.
That Mech makes one. Speaking of Reading, if you don't mind, I got to throw a plug in for him. Robin's always bragged about his their big their
Hmm.
regular single stage reloading press. Evidently, when Sierra Bullets started reloading ammunition, testing their ammunition out and whatever, maybe not when they started, but sometime in along the history, they bought a press from Reading. Bought a Reading, I think Big Boss or something like that. I don't
Yeah,
know the model name.
it's the big boss. I've been down in in their shooting room at Sierra, and
Mm.
yes, they have three Reading presses. Okay,
Now,
and now, okay, and well, I got to go back. This is about 10 years ago. So they had three
mm-hmm,
Reading presses,
mm-hmm.
and they had three of their um, three of their powder dispensers. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
or the 10X, or if I remember, one with the knocker on it, and that's what they used. And
Well, what I was
all their dies were Reading, and which tells you a lot. You know,
the story I was going to tell you is Reading sent their press back to our to sorry,
Sierra.
Sierra sent their press back to Reading. Robin loves to tell this story. He can tell it a lot better than I can. But they sent them back a press that had reloaded 1,000,000 rounds.
Hmm.
They had 1,000th of wear in that press. 1,000th. And now you guys know, all three of us know, most of the reloaders out there know, on a single stage press, you load your ammo one operation at a time.
Hmm.
Resize, deprime. That's two operations. But you go to prime, that's an operation. Okay, and then you got next size or whatever if you're going to do that. Anyway, you got bullet seating, which is another operation. Each operation, rifle cartridge and handgun cartridge, one stage at a time, or one single stage press, one operation at a time. You're talking 4 strokes at least for every round of ammo you've made. Guys, we're
Hmm.
talking about 4 million strokes of that ram going up and down with 1,000th of wear during whatever the given time was that Sierra was using this press. I'd say that speaks for itself when it comes to Reading quality.
Well, I remember Robin telling us too that, you know, they came out with that new Teflon lube. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and someone tried it to put it on their press ram, and their press ram wouldn't move because the lube added too much to the dimension of
Yeah.
the press.
Yeah, it
Okay.
tightened up the rim. It tightened up the
Right.
damn rim because the
They couldn't
coupon
move
body
it.
stuck off.
Yeah, it eventually shaved everything off.
Mm-hmm.
So again, they're one of, I think they're the only press that uses local casting. They have a company that does a local casting for them. They do all their own boring and everything else for it, and they make
Yep.
up their own parts for it.
I've
Now,
been in the
Lyman,
Reading. I've
yeah,
been in the Reading factory, and Paul's exactly right. There's a couple things that Robin actually asked me not to take photos of, but one of them has to do with threading the outside of the die. And he said he doesn't mind if I talk about it, but let's just say that if you have a big diameter hole in the middle of it, they have to cut the threads first, because if they don't, the material will actually compress under the pressure of the cold metal forming dies. Changes the bore diameter of 4570 case, or 4570 resizing die. I'll get it right. Anyway, we got another good question on screen, if you don't mind.
go ahead.
It's from someone that calls himself Truth. That's a nice name. Why do you perform annealing, and is it a must?
It depends upon what you call must.
Right.
Okay. Why do we perform annealing? As you reload and fire the brass in the gun, the brass becomes harder and harder. So, in order to get it back to a more malleable form, we anneal it. That way, we are more accurately setting the shoulder back when we size it, or just exactly just sizing the case. You have to understand that brass, as it's being fired, gets harder and harder, and eventually, hard brass cracks. Keeping brass at a soft state allows it to expand better, keeps it from cracking, and makes a more accurate reload, because if you're setting the shoulder back a thousandths or a thousandth and a half or 2 thousandths, you're able to do that repeatedly with the die sets that we have nowadays.
Right.
Well, second question is it a must? No, but definitely yes.
No. I did an unscientific experiment about 5 years ago, because everybody was questioning how many rounds do you get out of a particular case when you reload it. I started out with brand new factory ammunition, did the initial fire, and now if I did not anneal, I got about 20 reloads on standard 223 before I started noticing neck cracks, splits, to where I couldn't use the cases. And when I started annealing, I don't know if I'm getting 20 or more beyond that, but I did get more consistent seating of the bullet. We all know you seat a bullet. Sometimes you can actually feel the resistance of going in. It's a snug fit. And there's times it's so mushy, you don't even know if the bullet's going to stay in there. I just think you get a lot more consistent neck tension, and therefore, there again, and that's going to transmit down into neck sizing. I think it's going to get a lot better product than kneeling. Is it a must? No. I mean, years ago when people started reloading, they got plenty of good plinking loads, not annealing. But if you can invest just a little bit more money, you're going to get a lot better product.
You'll make better ammunition. That's why we
Yes,
say yes.
yes, you will.
Oh,
But
very good.
is it a must? No. Especially if you're just making plinking rounds.
Well, I look at it with some rounds that I reload. If I do not anneal it, my brass can be gone in 5 reloads.
Yeah.
Okay, 22 250 is notorious for splitting necks because of brittleness. But I anneal it, I'm good to go. And I even out of factory loads, I can, if I and one reload, if it isn't annealed, I can get split necks out of 22-250.
Yeah.
So
And if you're into the older stuff like Nick and I are, we do a lot of case conversion, and if you're going to do case conversion, you have to anneal. It's just part of it. And anybody shoots 303 British, no, I mean the chambers are so sloppy, you're going to have to full length resize, and you're probably going to want to anneal.
Good answers. Next question from Mrs. Vanessa Kitty. She wants to know which section of the brass needs to be annealed and which section should never be annealed. I know that one. I got that one. Can I answer, teacher?
go ahead. You take this one, Jim.
The first time I ever annealed brass, I thought, well, if a little bit's good, a whole lot's better. I reload, I get it right. I annealed 20 cases, neck to head, neck to head, neck to head, all the body and everything. And I loaded up those 20 rounds. I shot 3. Gas in my eyes every blooming time. It blew right back through the walls of the primer, the walls of the primer seat. Yeah, you don't anneal the head of the case. You do not. You do not. You do not. If you do, you're asking for trouble. You could actually damage your gun.
To be specific, you want to do the neck and the shoulder of the case, and that's as far as you want to go.
Right.
So if you take the junction and put your flame, if you're doing it by flame, your annealer at the junction of the neck and the first part of the shoulder, and anneal from there, you'll do fine. Do not go any farther, and be careful as you anneal. You want to get to about 800 to 900 degrees in your annealing. After that, you can have problems, but you don't want the head of the case getting anywhere softer than what it is. In fact, it's designed to be harder, so it holds the primer and holds the case well into the chamber.
Right.
That's what I was going to say. The annealing returns brass heat treatment properties back to factory zero. I don't know if that made sense, but I saw 2 heads shaking. Yes.
Yep.
Thank you, Miss Kitty, for the excellent question. She's also a mathematics teacher, so she knows how to get it exactly right. Or how's that saying go? Math teachers do it correctly.
Well, there's only one answer to a math problem.
Yeah.
That's right. It's correct. Either it's correct or not.
Looks like she's also got the question: do you ever anneal handgun caliber brass?
That's the question.
There might be on some really oddball cases, there might be a need, but on your typical 45, 38, 9mm, you'll end up losing the brass before you end up needing to truly anneal it.
Well, one thing about annealing, it does soften the brass, and if you're running like 38 superloads like Paul used to run, you're running some high pressure ammunition there, so you are working your brass a little bit in that caliber. Like with 38, I've seen 38 cracks, coming from the mouth down to the walls of the case. Only maybe an eighth of an inch or something like that. I always let them go because the cracks affected the crimp on the walls of the bullet. But yeah, it can be done. It's not customary to do so, but that's a very good question.
I do know a international shooter that reloads 32 long, that anneals his brass. Okay. He does it because he gets exactly the same release on the bullet all the time.
Consistency.
Yes.
Okay, we have another question here that caught my eye. This is from Mr. Truth again. He was always told that reloading 9mm is more difficult to reload. Can you elaborate on why? I would say somebody's feeding you a wives' tale.
Yeah.
People forget that 9mm is a tapered case. Okay.
True.
So none of the dies that are made nowadays are a tapered carbide case. They're straight wall.
Straight wall, but still tapered.
Somewhat, but they're still straight wall. I mean, they're you
Yeah.
know. So 9mm can be difficult for some people to reload. Okay. I've seen people have problems with 9mm reloading. Reading used to make they don't make it anymore because there was so little demand for it, but they made a tapered carbide die for 9mm. It was expensive. It's hard to do, but it was good and it worked. Most of the people now use a small, what I would call as a minimal consistent die. So it gets all the way back to Sammy specs at the base, and you can reload easier with it. Lee makes a die for it, and they call it that. So that's the one difficulty that some people may have with it. The other problem is most people reload 9mm. They reload in bulk, and they don't keep head stamps separated and that kind of stuff. And you can get inconsistencies of case capacity with 9mm. That's it. That's the two things that really can go wrong with 9mm. As it is, 9mm is probably the most reloaded round in the United States. Is it worth it? I don't know, because there's a whole lot of companies that are producing, under $300 a thousand 9mm practice rounds. So
I got a new one here highlighted from Facebook, someone on Facebook. And he said, it sounds to me like that might be my old friend Swampy. He does say that as an exception, if you're annealing cases for the purpose of making jackets, bullet jackets, heat the entire case. Now if it's who I think it is, he's a gentleman that takes 32 ACP cases and swages them out to make 357 diameter jacket bullets.
I've seen that with 40 cases and that making 45.
45, right.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
I just wanted to point that out. That's a very good point. But remember, we're talking about extremely arcane reloading. Okay, I mean, how many people make their own cast bullets and then now take the swagers and take that out of them? 1% of us reloaders, maybe 10% of us reloaders cast bullets. Maybe 1/10 of
I think that's more than that. I think about 50% try it, 25% do it, and it just depends where you're at. I mean,
you could be right. You could be right. I'm not.
Yeah.
I have no way of knowing for sure. I would just make wild guesses. What you call it? SWAG. So here's the next comment. So what sizing die? What should sizing die should be used for the 9mm? I have a carbide resizing die.
I'm going to say the sizing die that fits your chamber the best.
Okay, good answer.
Because I'm not going to say that, that I find that the Hornady is big on my match chambers. Okay. So I go to a Lee, a minimal one to reload for my 9 millimeters. So I'm getting all the way back. Um,
And you're verifying that by a plunk test
I have
or a case gauge.
case gauges that
Okay.
hold like 50 rounds at a time.
Okay.
So I just drop them in as I'm getting ready to, as I'm going over and checking my loads, because sometimes things go wrong when you're reloading.
Here's what I'm going to put up on Cameo.
See, this is a reload that went wrong. This is where a primer went out and came back in.
Ken Brown's got a worthwhile comment. He shoots factory competition, loads, and he did the math on reloading 9 versus buying the more expensive ammo. Unless I was shooting well over 10K, it was not worth enough savings versus time. Well, teach his own.
Some people enjoy the reloading aspect of it,
That would be me.
and you have to take in the part of it. The other thing is making precision pistol rounds. I mean, really precision pistol rounds. And Jim will tell you that if he gets going on his RCBS powder drop, that he can be extremely accurate as he's doing it, and he can control his 9 millimeters better than a lot of factory do it.
That's right, because that's going back to the basic precept concept of why we reload.
Right.
We're making match grade ammunition tailored for our firearms that the ammo factories just simply cannot match. They just can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
They reload for all guns. They load ammo for all guns. I reload for my guns.
I reload 9 millimeter, but I can't remember who used to do their sign off, buy it cheap and stack it deep. I do that when the prices are reasonable.
No,
But
that was Phil. That was Phil.
that's Phil. But there again, I mean, I still reload 9 millimeter, and I'll put it away. That way, because during these crunches where we can't get anything, I've still got ammo to shoot.
Same thing with all of us. We sit down
Yeah.
and say, it's time to buy, 20,000 primers. Okay. And, to have 20,000 primers on hand. People don't seem to get that that's what we used to do back in the 80s and earlier, was to have a supply of primers.
Yeah.
That's the only thing, that you're limited on. I mean, guys, you can always find cases everywhere. Primers are a one-time deal. So you can make your own bullets. You can find cases. You can do all these things, but it gets down to really powder and primer. And those are the two things you want to make sure you have enough of.
Right.
I have a comment to interject into the preppers on this channel, and that is there is a channel over on MeWe that I'm a member of the channel, but they're actually reloading primers.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing a pretty good job of it. They're making match grade primers.
We have a person that comes on who has now come out with a product that will make your primer cups.
Mm-hmm.
So you can get he tells you what size thickness of metal to get, and you can punch out your own primer cups.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You still need the anvils to do it, but okay. And then there's a mixture that you can buy to put together your own primers. So but still, as it goes, and um, primers and powder are the two things you want to make sure that you always have enough of.
Right.
You want to do that one, Paul?
Which one?
That
Crude?
one.
Once gunpowder container has been opened, screwed back, sealed, kept in a low humidity, cool area, how long before it expires or is not longer good? Oh, this could be
Wow.
an interesting one. Yeah. It depends upon how the powder was handled in the beginning. If it sat on a hot truck and moved around, you may get, 10, 15 years on it. I got a 100-pound naval container of IMR 4831. It is now gone. It has been shot. Okay.
That's a
100
lot of
pounds.
that's a lot of IMR for 41.
100
4831.
pounds of 4831. Okay.
God.
That was demilled powder. That was demilled in the 60s. And I ended up shooting the last of it in the 2000s. Okay.
So that powder lasts you 40 years.
And it was demilled because it was considered old. And when they demilled it out of the 20 millimeter uh, um, cannon rounds that it was, the company that did it said it was about 15 or 20 years old at the time. So, yes, you're talking long time. Then again, I had a buddy who had a 8-pound keg of unique that he kept in his barn up on top of a shelf. And in 5 years, that thing was junk. High humidity, high heat, and yeah, it wasn't worth anything.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're going to open it, open it. I keep mine in a 30 mil. I keep my powder on open powder in a 30 millimeter um, military ammo can. Um, People say that's wrong. You can't do that and everything else. Ammo cans are meant to release,
Conserve and protect ammo.
conserve and protect, but also if they get hot, they go off, they open up, they split at the seams, and that's supposed to let the um, the rounds stop cooking off unless they're in a fire itself. The naval container that I had was about 3 foot tall, 12 inches by 12 inches, and had a top that had a rubber ring around it, and it had a cam lock on the top, but it was really, really thin welded metal. Okay, everything was thin metal. It was very lightweight as far as being there, except for the base, which was reinforced, and the top, which was reinforced, so no one could actually disturb the powder that was in it.
Well, the weak link in that container would have been the rubber gasket itself.
Right. And the sides. The sides were all, just thinly welded. That's all. There was nothing, I would say maybe a 16th of an inch is what the sides were. Okay. The top and the bottom were a lot heavier. They, metal loops around it and heavier metal holding those in, but it was pretty lightweight.
There's a good comment about the age of powder from Paul Loud. He marks his powder container with the date that he opened it. That way he doesn't second guess if it has been opened and accidentally break the seal just to check.
Yeah. I think the powder containers they're putting powder in now makes the powder last longer if you're storing it properly. Because when I first started reloading, you were still buying powder in the metal tins, as well as like I think some of the Alliant powders were in the cardboard cylinders.
Yep.
With
Mm-hmm.
all of them going to the black plastic containers now, and if you're storing it right, I think that powder lasts many, many, many years. Because you don't have the metal tin uh, rising with the temperature if it were stored outside, like you did back in the old days. Of course, cardboard can soak up
Deteriorated. Yeah.
deteriorate and soak up moisture.
Yep.
I think the containers are a lot better. I think powder is going to last considerably
Mm-hmm.
longer than it used to.
I agree with you. It's much better containers than it used to be. But we used to get even in 8 pounders in the metal containers.
Yeah.
So and people wonder, it's meant to open, the containers are meant to open up if they become hot and start to expand.
Yeah.
That way they don't blow up, you know. Yeah, I can make a container so if you apply enough heat to it, it will blow up. And it's just, it's what powder does. It just expands, doesn't blow up. It just produces enough gas to burst the container.
Mhm.
Ray, you're fairly familiar with some old military cartridges, are you not?
Yeah, probably not as much as Nick, cause I see somebody's talking about 6.5 Swede.
Yeah, for hunting.
Yeah,
It's good round.
it is a good round.
It's good round.
Without getting my reloading book, I'd have to see what we do. But really, that's your pretty much your common powders like 4895 and
4064,
yeah,
3031, Varget, any of those will work in it.
yeah. There again, and each rifle and each load acts differently in everybody's gun. So find a starting load and start playing.
Yeah. The thing is with 6.5 for elk and mule deer, the problem you may have with it is mounting a scope on that
Yeah.
gun. Okay. Um, as I think about it, yeah, you can chamber a new gun, a new long. It'd have to be a long action into it, and put it in a modern action, and you'd be better off because of scope mounting situations. Um, but other than that, it's a good one. But then again, at the same point, you're taking a 6.5, which you might as well shoot a 6.5 PRC or a 6.5 Creedmoor, and for mule deer, you'd be better off.
Yeah.
Paul Loud says Reloader 22 works in 6.5 by 55.
Words of wisdom from Mr. Loud. Those are rare rare gems from him. Anyway, bolt diameter on the 6.5, isn't that 264
Yes.
Yeah.
thereabouts?
Yeah.
Well, that'd be like basically necking down a 30-06 cartridge and put a 6.5 bullet in it.
And
Basically,
and I think they also used a 260. Was it 268? Some of them had slightly different bores, if I remember right.
I couldn't tell you.
Nick would know.
Basically,
Paul.
it's a 6.5. Okay. Creedmoor 6.5 PRC. You're somewhere in that area, and you might as well get the modern cartridge to go with it
Yeah.
because of the what the gun is going to be chambered in. So, and being able to mount a good scope onto it and be able to hunt. Lots of people take game with it with a 6.5 by 55, but again, mounting a scope on it can lead to problems and expenses. And you can take it to a gunsmith. You can have him drill and tap it,
Yeah.
take care of dehorn it and take care of it. But um, cheaper way to go is to buy a good rifle.
There you go. Nick's got it. 6.5 Swede is 264. 6.5 Carcano is .268.
Okay. I knew
So
they
that
were
is a slightly different caliber.
I told you no.
Yeah, the boy jumped into it whole hog. Thanks, Nick. Good seeing you.
Vendrem brings up a good point, and I've even thought about doing this, marking the purchase date on the powder, an open date, and I've also thought about keeping a notes on there every time you use powder out of that can, roughly how many grains of powder you used that. That way, when you got that open can, you've got an idea how many grains are left in there. Especially if you're loading, you know the characteristics of that particular lot, and if you have to get into a new lot, you've got an idea how much is in that can. I mean, it's a lot of work, but I mean, everybody
Not
thinks
really. If you keep good records, you all you can do is a little bit of math.
right.
And it depends how much you're loading.
Yeah.
Okay. Me, I prefer to buy my stuff in 8 pound or 4 pound or 5 pound increments, um, jugs, just because when I'm loading, if I'm loading for something, I may be loading a 500 or 1,000 rounds of something
Hmm.
for a prairie dog hunt. So you're looking at let's say a 223, you're looking at 20, let's say 25 grains times 1,000, you're at 25,000 grains of powder. um, one
So
pound is only 7.
right.
Okay, so all of a sudden you're going through, you know,
3.5 pounds of
three
powder.
and a half, 4 pounds. Let's call it 4 pounds. Okay, so at least with an 8 pound jug, you'll get 2 rounds out of it.
Right.
Um, you
And
get it. Yeah, go ahead.
that brings up the question: you get down to that lot where you got a certain amount of powder left. It's not enough to make a batch of rounds you're wanting to make. What do you do with it? Do you just mark it?
It usually ends up going into something that I am only going to do a little bit of shooting for.
Just
Uh,
plinking.
just plinking, yeah.
Okay.
Now I have in my 223 the 77 grain TMKs that I'm loading. They're all new lots of powder, and they're all new lots of bullets. Okay, so I am putting together, new workups. So there's 25 25 um, rounds of in other words, five shot targets that I'm going to put together out of it. So I'll sit down and I'll take the top load and go down 2/10 and then 2/10 and 2/10 and the 2/10 for the 5 loads. And that's where I'll start with at that point. Is that safe? Well, I know my guns and I know what I'm doing. And if it was a new powder, I mean, something that I've never dealt with before, no, it isn't. I'd work from starting charge and work up. But knowing that I've used this powder before and I've never seen any big changes coming down a grain and a half to give my starting load with and working my way up, I find it doable.
Okay.
If I get if I'm working with something that has a bigger case capacity, say 40 grains, okay, well then I'll use a 3/10 jump, and I'll work my way up from there, and then over 40 grains, I'll use a half grain jump and work my way up with that. But again, I know the powder. If I'm dealing with something new, it doesn't work that way. It goes from the beginning and work my way up.
Okay.
Truth. Cerakote or stainless steel barrel? Why? If you're going to be, if you're target shooting with a stainless steel barrel, you leave it stainless. It don't last long enough. If you're just going to be hunting with it, yeah, you can Cerakote it. It's not a big deal.
I think he's asking the question: do you Cerakote a steel barrel, or do you go a stainless barrel?
My steel barrels are blued because I like them that way. My stainless ones, either they're stainless or I have, put a. I don't use Cerakote. I use a K coat, and I do that myself, so it's not a big deal. Takes me about 15 minutes, and I buy the air dry, so don't have to worry about it, and I can customize the color or whatever I want. So yeah, that's it. If I want, but if I know the barrel isn't going to last that long, I'm not going to put the work into it.
Right.
I mean, a 223 barrel is going to last you 3,000 rounds, say, right?
Right.
But a 22 250 barrel is going to be 1,500 rounds. Some of my hot sixes are going to be maybe 1,300 rounds on a prairie dog field. It don't last that long. That's why they make gunsmiths.
Blue chrome moly and oiled walnut.
He's got a good answer. Jorgen Rangan, you behave yourself, you rascal, even if you are right. Or we agree with you anyway. The correct answer is blued chrome moly and oiled walnut.
Yeah, he's talking the classic hunting rifle.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't own one. I'm sorry, guys. They've all been transformed. Even my hunting rifle got too heavy with a wood stock, so it got a lightweight carbon fiber stock on it and a lightweight barrel.
Oh God, don't get us started about carbon fiber. Oh my God. Yeah, we don't want to go there. We don't want to go there, please. Nothing wrong with it, and it's right application. That's all I got to say. And on rifle stock, it is a very good application.
Yeah. Not my barrels. No, my barrels are not. My barrels are full either chrome moly or stainless.
Thanks, Jorgen, you crazy rascal. Good answer. We got anything else, guys? You know what? We did forget to mention Patriot Patch Company. No, nothing against you, Paul, but they are one of our sponsors, and I wanted to might give me hell for not taking a wrapper off, so I took the wrapper off for this, and here we go. It says the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. That's July's patch of the month.
Nice.
Yeah.
Mike actually gets on me because of the crinkly noise that I love to make.
Well, and the reflection you get if you don't have it in, if you got it in the
that's true.
The plastic.
Yep.
But it's a good patch, guys, and think about it.
Yeah, I still need to get myself a patch hat so I could change patch every month.
Well, I gave you the link.
Yeah, you did, and I have it.
Okay.
Going back to that stainless barrel, I've often heard stainless barrels, they really don't like the cold weather. So what's the truth in that?
They're fine in cold weather.
Are they? Okay.
Yeah. They're fine in cold weather. Yeah, Alaska proved to me that there was no problem with stainless and cold. Now the problem with the receiver is a different story. But and then again, this is where people don't think but you go on a hunt, you're using a fiberglass stock, and you think you've taken care of it, and you get back home and you take the rifle out of the stock, and you look at see what saltwater and rain and snow and everything else does to the underside of that action, and you'll understand that you can get a little pissed off at yourself, but you ain't taking it apart when you're in Alaska.
Here comes trouble.
Oh my gosh. Hello, sir.
The new homeowner.
How we doing?
This. Look at the nice, everything there. Look at that. No curtains, but he's got the shades pulled down, and he's doing all right. How you been, sir?
I've been good. It's been
a
long day, so.
Oh, well, that's your fault.
Busy day at work, and then had a big meeting. We have a big gun show coming up here, not this weekend, but the next. It's all old stuff, and plus I had to get Dad in the group in the club, so he got accepted tonight. So
cool. My check didn't bounce. I take it. No.
I don't know. They haven't ran it yet, so we'll see.
It won't bounce.
Jordan Reagan, what is this? Can you highlight that bottom one there?
Sure, but it's old wives' tale to me.
Suffer from a shrinkage factor. I think that's what you're talking about. Your barrel. That's
exactly
your gun. Okay.
This is my rifle. This is my gun.
That's right.
Oh. Don't touch it, Paul. Don't touch it. Don't touch it. Please. Jordan, behave, damn it.
Yeah.
Hey, Nick, there's one for you, bud.
We got. So it is called, let me get it real quick. So it's a gun show put on by the Missouri Valley Arms Collectors Association. And it's every year. It's the 52nd annual. And nice thing about it is it's here in the Kansas City area, and it's nothing but old stuff. And there's no candles, no fudge, no Scientologists, no roofing, none of that. It's all older guns, old military, old Winchesters. And it's not just stuff for sale. There's also a display part of the show that you'll have guys bring, like Vickers machine gun collections. And it's people from all across the country that come to this show. So I'm really looking forward to it. And it sounds like I could spend some decent money, but probably won't be. So I know guys that are going to be bringing like $8,000-$10,000 to the show, and so.
Yep.
Nick, can you answer that question on the lack of 308 bullets and 312?
You mean the lack of 312 bullets?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, there's no true lack of them. You can get PPU 312 bullets all day long. So I don't know. Well, I think like Graf should have them in stock right now, unless he's asking. So like this is where I'm stuck in because I've always wanted to finish M39 that's been deshanked. So it's set up for the I think the D262. It's their heavy bullet. The throat's been opened up, but that's a Lapua bullet, and Lapua hasn't made that bullet since COVID. So that's kind of where I'm at. It's like, why spend the money on an M39 when I specifically can't shoot that bullet?
Right.
Or no, D166. That's what it is, D166. But you should be able to get 312 bullets all day long. Let's see, 312 bullets.
Well, you can always cast your own, but
yeah, and that's one thing. I cast a lot of my 311s, 312s.
Nick, let me read the question to you if you don't mind. Because it's from BG Nagel. And his question is, because of the availability of different bullets in 308 and the lack thereof in 312, is there anything to do to help improve accuracy when using a 308 bullet in a .312 or 7.62 by 54R?
Not that I can think of. The only thing I can think of is paper patch, but you're moving too fast to paper patch.
The other answer you already gave, Nick, buy the right bullet.
Yeah. You can get, like right now, Graf's online has 312, 311, close enough. 311, 150 grain FMJs, a 50 count bag is $18. So, and then also Cutting Edge Bullet makes bullets in 312, 311. Hornady's they got about anything you can think of right now. So all of the 170, 174s. So yeah, you got even 180s even. So, but yeah, to answer, if you can only get 308, I can't think of a way.
Paper patch. That's the only thing.
But I don't think you can get. I don't think
you can paper patch. Yeah.
Yeah. I've never messed with velocity. Isn't there like a max velocity paper patch you should not exceed?
300 to 3,000.
That's like, I don't know if I'd want to move something that fast. Paper patch.
Oh, you can. Yeah.
My muzzle loaders or my martinis, I'm only moving, I think.
Yeah, but the paper isn't doing anything.
Yeah, no.
Other than riding the bore. Okay. Mm-hmm. That's all the paper is doing. The paper is not burning or anything else. You have to use the right paper. You have to use a heavy linen paper.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then you got to be able to cut it into the strips to be able to roll it and then to hold it together as you seat the bullet. But he can paper patch it and make it work. But that's a lot of work.
It is. Especially when, like you say, you didn't know the availability is out there.
Yeah.
It's $18 for 100.
Yeah.
It's cheap. Go buy them. That's like, I'm probably going to, next time I order a thing from Graf's, I might throw a bag on mine just to have it, just another 100. So,
yeah.
Well, Nick, you don't live that far from the Graf's anymore anyway.
No, and that's the nice thing about it. I'm only 2 hours from Graf's. So I've always thought about going and making a weekend trip, go hit Graf's. And if I need to order anything from Midway USA, order it and have it pick up at location because I'm coming right back past Midway. So, plus I'm not far from Sierra. Sierra's, I think, only an hour and 20 minutes.
Nick, you're a disgusting boy.
Well, they don't let you into the factory anymore.
Well, that's fine, but they still got the outlet store. That's the big thing I like
Yeah,
about
but the
Sierra.
factory is where it's really
I
at.
know. I loved the factory tour. We
Yeah.
did that one time, and
Yeah.
especially the range. Their
You
range
got-
they have underneath. Oh my gosh, is incredible.
Yeah, 200-yard underground range. Can you imagine?
I
No
think-
wind.
You got Starline across the street.
Yep.
Across the parking lot.
Yeah.
And
Ray, you're just as disgusting.
Well, and that's like, especially like if he's thinking of if say you want to try something different in the 312. I don't know if he's trying to go super accurate or anything. Look into casting if he has the ability to do that.
Different stuff.
I've gotten some really good accuracies with some 312 cast bullets, especially like in my Argentine. Dad was with me with that one. We had some incredible accuracy, and that was out of a Lee mold. So there's some incredible with some of the guns you can do. Now, if you're shooting a Mosin, it sounds like 7.62 by 54R, your accuracy is not going to be the absolute greatest, but a cat's bullet might just make your accuracy better.
huh? You know what I liked about Sierra though? You get there and there's a bicycle that's parked in the range, okay? So you take the bicycle all the way down to the end of the range. Ah,
Gentlemen, do we have anything else for the good of the show? Any shout outs? We all know somebody we want to holler at. I'll take one. Dubé Dude North. I don't know if you're watching or not, but there you go, bud. Good to see you on last week's show. That's all the way down in South America.
I will do one. BG Nagy, if you have any questions, so it sounds like you are loading for surplus cartridges, you can always shoot me an email at it's milsurpduo@gmail.com. I can answer about anything you can think of. If I don't know it, I know people that do. But yeah, it's especially 7.62 by 54R. Super easy to load for. Yeah, anything, and especially if you're looking for a mold, I can help you out information wise, what I use and what other people I know that cast for it use.
they already got you lined up doing a group buy now at Sierra.
I can't. And that's it. I haven't been there in so long. It's probably been 4 years, pre-COVID, of course, since I've gone to the outlet store. And I was just looking last week. They don't have any. Their last updated PDF for the outlet was like late last year. So truly knows what they have, what their price is. It's hard to say. And I'm not going to waste the time calling them up. Hey, can I get a new price sheet? I'm not going to worry about it.
They're struggling to keep up with production now. So I'm sure they're keeping their list for their seconds up to date. It's so low priority.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know why you want to shoot a second bullet in a good rifle.
And that I don't shoot like my 6.5s. I don't shoot through my super nice 1-in-7 ARs. I don't shoot through those. They're just my plinking bullets is all they're for. Yep.
Even that, I mean, I can for 223, I can buy 55 grain soft points as a plinking bullet from Midway, Mid-South. They got all those cheap ones out there. Hornady sells their FMJs, in a 6,000 count box for cheap.
And so with that, Paul, what we're not, and with the last couple of times my dad and I have bought from Sierra, we're not buying your 55 grain 223 FMJs. We're buying your 8mm 150 grain round nose, your 311 174 grain FMJs, a lot of your other 303, the oddball stuff that we want the nice projectile for, but we don't want to spend the full price. We'll get it at that discounted rate. So
it's just a shooter. It's a plane.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sitting
especially for a surplus gun, you're not going to get the ultra pinhole accuracy, but when you can save some money on that FMJ bullet,
Okay.
That's where we look for.
I'm one that I buy a gun for, and if the barrel don't shoot, he gets a new one. You understand what I'm saying? So
Oh, yeah.
Hmm.
I don't, I'm not one to put a second down a good barrel.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I'm with you.
Nick, can you read that banner underneath?
Man, I'm jealous. He had a friend that just found 500 D166. And I'm not sure where he found it, but he'll let me know. I am very jealous because I have searched high and low for those projectiles. They are not easy to come by. And be it with Lapua doing what they're doing right now with producing ammo, I'm shocked. Unless he found them secondhand somewhere.
Well, I'm sure you'll be interested. You got that email address, right, BG Nanigi? milsurpduo@gmail.com.
I don't have the rifle yet, but if it's a place that keeps them in stock, I might be hopefully get one soon because I want to
Nick?
finish Mosin. But
Nick, go over
Yeah.
to the YouTube channel for a minute and put your Milsurp Duo email address in.
I will throw that out there. Oh,
Thank you,
looks
sir.
like he's got it, but I'll throw it out there.
He's got it, but go ahead and put it out there. Worst he can do is spam you, right?
Which I'll just block it anyway at that point. But
You bet.
What's my opinion on a remake barrels? I don't know. I just I go to
I think if you look down another comment, Remage barrels.
Remage. Okay. If they're from a good if the barrel's from a good maker, what's wrong? I mean, all you're doing is just doing a Savage nut onto a Remington. That's all. So it works on a Savage. It can work in a Remington. No big deal. Go for it. A lot of times some of those are cheap barrels and they're not, but there's a lot of good people that turn out good barrels for a homage makeover. Bug Holes is one. He does that work. There's a bunch more. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with it. You can go to LRI and they can make the barrels up for you. So,
All right. Well, I for one am ready to call it a night. With pretty good show, considering the lack of talent we had tonight.
hey, this was a free for all night tonight.
Yeah, no adult supervision.
Yep.
Even Nick's trying to supervise us. Ain't gonna work because he's the youngest one of the punch.
I think it went well.
I agree with you.
So we're gonna call it early tonight, guys.
I appreciate that, gents.
Jim's got to get his beauty sleep.
Lots of it too.
Mm-hmm.
I got to move some more boxes. So,
well, you're an hour behind us too.
well, my garage is still probably
Oh yeah,
a quarter full of boxes.
Yep.
We don't blame it all on you. We don't blame it all on you, Jim. Thanks, Paul. Appreciate your backup.
Anyhow, as my grandpa used to say, don't listen to your mama. Violence does solve problems.
Nick,
Jump on the Milsurp short bus.
Teach them to shoot and reload when they're young.
support the Second Amendment. 2A forever.
Anyway,
Good night, all.
Good night.
Good night.